Ben family, good time. So great to be back with the saints, studying the Word and preaching it. So I've been looking at Revelation 13. This is after we've been talking about, in chapter 12 we talked about the dragon being kicked out of heaven and the woman that gave birth to a man-child. So we're seeing these major figures as the breaking of the seals is kind of like paused, if you will, talking about that and going back into that history of the seals, and we see in these major figures in Revelation, and this one in chapter 13 is about the beast rising from the sea. So this is going to be very interesting, I think. We're going to talk about who that beast is and why he's called a beast. We're going to look at Daniel 2 and 7. All right, so here's verse 1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea. So just notice where he's standing, sand of the sea. So he's at the seashore, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So this 7-headed creature was 10 horns. He had 10 crowns. That's indicating that these 10 horns are kings. And the main characteristic of these kings is that they had blasphemy. These are very anti-God. They profane anything that is holy. And verse 2 it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So you can see the dragon mentioned again, but the beast is not the dragon. The dragon is giving power to this composite beast. Now, we have to really go back to Daniel to really get the understanding of what a beast is in the Bible. Book of Revelation is basically summing up the Bible before it, the Old Testament at least. So when he says he saw a beast, he says, okay, what's a beast? Well, you got to go back to the Bible before Revelation and see what beast is. Daniel 7 mentions these 4 beasts, actually. It says, Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea. 4 winds of the heaven stroving upon the great sea, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea. John said he saw one beast come up from the sea. Diverse one from another. So Daniel saw 4 beasts come up from the same place, the sea, different from one another. Beast from the sea. What's from the sea mean? What's the typology there? Well, Luke 21:25 mentions the sea in association with nations. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. And then in Ezekiel we have another reference to the sea and nations. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Tyrus, and will cause many nations to come up against thee, as the sea causeth his waves to come up. The sea causeth his waves to come up. So a nation is a wave. The sea causes the waves to come up. God will cause many nations to come up against thee. So this is my little diagram. The sea, beast from the sea. Waves from the sea. Those are nations. So the sea would have to be the world. If the waves are parts of the sea, well, if a nation is like a wave, then there's something bigger than one nation that would be worldwide. That's the world. The nations are depicted as a wave. All right. So when the beast rose from the sea, it's basically from the world, from the nations of the world. So the conditions of the whole world, the nations of the world, become such. Like the wind striving upon the sea, the conditions become such that the beast is able to rise up and become the head of the world, basically. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds The four winds of the heavens strive upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first beast that he saw coming up out of the world was like a lion and had eagle's wings. That's Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, 625 to 538 BC. First was like a lion, had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it, probably referring to him when he lost his sanity, and then was restored again, made to stand again. And then the second beast that he saw was a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. That's the Medo-Persian Empire that followed the Babylonian Empire. It's called a bear. It was less agile than a lion. It just had a lot of weight to it and had a huge army, like 2.5 million people as soldiers. And so the way they won wars, not so much by skill and agility, but just the weight of force was just throwing a whole bunch of soldiers at their enemies and overcoming them. Like a bear, couldn't move that fast, but it was able to. It's the second most powerful animal after the lion. So it's a little less than the lion, but very vicious and devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. That's Alexander the Great, the Greek Empire, and he was very fast. He overcame, I think in 2 years, conquered all of Asia Minor in less than 2 years. So leopard, he's able to run fast. So there you already can see why it's called a beast. It fits the empire or the king that ruled the empire. So the beast is about a king in his empire. Conquered all of Asia Minor in less than 2 years, defeated Darius III and took control of the Persian Empire. That's the second empire after Nebuchadnezzar. After just 7 years he died, and then his 4 generals divided the kingdom 4 ways: Thrace, Macedonia, Syria, and Egypt. Hence the leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads and 4 wings. So Alexander died, Alexander the Great. He died, what was he, 30-some years, very young. Had just conquered a tremendous amount of territory. And then he dies, and then his 4 generals divided the kingdom 4 ways. So that's the third beast that had 4 heads, like a leopard and 4 heads. Fourth beast. And after this, Daniel says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. Iron teeth. And it devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. So this is the 4th beast. Has some descriptions about it. It's very terrible and breaks in pieces and stamps. It crushes every nation that it conquers. And then Daniel says, I considered the horns. So this terrible beast had 10 horns. And he was looking at these 10 horns. And behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up. Can you picture that? 10 horns. Another little horn pops up and overcomes 3 of the 10. So now there's 7 plus this one. 8 now. There were 10. The 11th came along, took out 3. 3 out of the 10. It's 7, and he's the 8th. 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn, this little horn, that's the Antichrist, by the way. In this horn were eyes like the eyes of man. So Daniel in his vision is seeing these horns coming out of this, in this head of this crazy rough creature, this iron teeth. And he noticed this little horn, there's eyes in this horn, and a mouth speaking great things. That's quite a vision. Seeing a horn with eyes and a mouth. But that's the characteristic of the Antichrist, who comes out of this fourth beast, where there are 10 kings ruling in this kingdom, conquered by this fourth beast. And he overcomes 3 of them and rules in their place. And I beheld, so this is the end of this final beast. This is where the good news comes in. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, the thrones of these kings that were in this, the 7 plus the 1. Thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. Sounds like the second coming. And I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, I beheld even, here's the Antichrist's end, till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. He gets blown up. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. That's probably the rest, like the 7 that were left. Yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. They lost their power, but their lives went on for a while yet. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, keyword kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages, notice the characteristic of this kingdom, doesn't sound very spiritual, it's very physical, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Christ is King of kings, and he's going to take control of all these kingdoms and rule forever. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, an angel no doubt, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me to know the interpretation of the things. So there's the angel actually telling Daniel what these beasts represent. Isn't that nice that we don't have to guess? He actually tells us. These great beasts, which are 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth. Daniel 7 is basically a history of the world. And Daniel 2, about the great image. I'll look at that in a little bit. The history of the world as it relates to Israel. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast. It's a different beast, and it needs more clarification. Which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass. So 2 metals that he mentions there, a metallic-like beast. Teeth were of iron, his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. That is the characteristic, the overall characteristic of this beast, this 4th kingdom, which is the last one. That'll be here when Christ comes back. It's super dreadful, just exceeding dreadful, terrifying. Crushes everybody that they overcome. And in other words, it doesn't just come in and build up and overtake and make them pay taxes. No, it just completely obliterates their culture, their religion, and takes their place, puts their beliefs in there, and sets their kingdom up in their city or their nation. And of the 10 horns, so what do we have? So he wanted to know the truth of the 4th beast, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other. What's the other? That's the little horn. And of the other, which came up, so the Antichrist is called the other, that came up before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things. That's the main characteristic of the Antichrist, is he has a mouth that can speak great things and blaspheme. Whose look, here's another characteristic of him, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Like a stout look. Isn't that an interesting thing to point out? Just the demeanor of his face. I have another cross-reference about that. Fierce countenance. Daniel 8:23, in the latter time of their kingdom, When the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. Fierce countenance. So the Antichrist is depicted by his countenance. And it's fierce. You just look at him, apparently, and he'll just have this fierce look in his face. And so he's a mean man, doesn't care about the feelings of people. You crush them, kill them, take their place. But notice when he's able to rise and rule. When the transgressors are come to the full. Now that's an interesting thing. That comes in line with 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, I believe, is where it says, the mystery of iniquity already worketh. And he who now letteth, like holds back, will let until he be taken out of the way. Then shall that wicked be revealed, and who comes with all the workings of iniquity, or something like that. So when the transgressors are come to the full, the king stands up. This wicked king, this little horn, this fierce countenance, stout, more stout than this fellow. That tells you that these kings are not able to rise until the people are in a terrible condition. Then these wicked men can come to power. And I think that's happening today. The reason that we have the people in power is because, or the men, the individuals in power, is because of the condition of the country. So we, the people, really have the power if we just exercise it. Daniel 8:24, and his power shall be mighty. We'll come back to chapter 7, but Daniel wanted to know about this guy, a little more about this fourth beast and the 10 kings and the one king, and this more stout than the rest. And then so I'm kind of diverging off about this stout look and fierce countenance, and another few verses here in chapter 8. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Interesting. What power is he operating under? The dragon, like we read in Revelation 13. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. That we see that throughout. He's able to overcome the saints, the Jewish people. And through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Craft, that's subtlety and treachery. And he shall magnify himself in his heart. We know that's another main characteristic of the Antichrist. He magnifies himself in his heart, thinks he's better than God. He is operating under the influence or indwelt by Satan himself. And what did he say? I will magnify myself above the stars of God. He wanted to overthrow the throne of God. And that is still his goal, is to overthrow God. And he's amassing all this help by all these kings to get all these kings on his side and then magnify himself and overthrow God's throne. And he says, right, he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. That's the craft, this treachery and deceit. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes. Notice who is taking the initiative here, is what it looks like to me. He shall stand up against the prince of princes. Number one, we can see that he believes in the prince of princes. He knows he exists, right? The devil's not an atheist. Number two, he has this crazy idea, I think he actually believes this, that he can overthrow God's throne. He shall stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Broken without hand. And through his policy, so back to chapter 7. And of the 10 horns which were in his head, and of the other which came up, before whom 3 fell. He wanted to know more about this. Even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things. Most of his power comes from what he says. Whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn, so I guess he's now getting more clarification on this beast with 10 horns, and now only has 8 because 3 got overcome by the 11th. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. I just don't like that part, but that's in the Bible. the Antichrist is able to overcome the saints, the Jewish people, until the Ancient of Days came. So this beast, the Antichrist, will be till the second coming. Until the Ancient of Days came, it's the last empire, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came, after being overcome, when the saints possessed the kingdom. When the saints possessed the kingdom. That's coming, folks. This is a real kingdom that will finally be in the hands of the saints. Thus he said, so now there's more interpretation by the angel, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, counting from Nebuchadnezzar. There were actually kingdoms before him, like Egypt and Assyria. And so you count from Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, all the way down, that's 7. That's why it's a 7-headed beast. But Daniel sees 4th. So you count from Nebuchadnezzar, it's 4 beasts. The 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, which shall be, well, Egypt, sorry, it was Egypt also back there in that list, that's why it's 7. The 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms. That word diverse again. It's different from all other kingdoms. By the way, I haven't still not said who I think that is. Which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. That's the characteristic of the fat yet. Treading down the whole earth, worldwide, like one world government. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom. That's a key phrase. 10 horns, 10 kings come out of this kingdom. Rises up in power. And he shall be diverse from the first, the 10. He is just more stout, more fierce. He's just different. Yes, it just doesn't mix with the rest. And he shall subdue 3 kings. So then there's only 7 from the 10, but so he'll be the 8th. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. Wow, there's that. He shall speak great words against the Most High. I don't think we want to listen to what he says most times. It's just such blasphemy, you know. Speaking against God and his... And of course, we're already seeing that spirit on Facebook. I've seen the things that we hold the most dear, the gospel, completely trashed, saying Paul was a false prophet. Things like that. It's like, what are you talking about? Just great words against the Most High. Shall wear out the saints of the Most High. We're already feeling that, even though this time isn't quite here yet. And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand, this the saints, shall be given into his hand until the time and times of the dividing of time. 3.5 years, the devil's man just totally overcomes the Jewish people. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven, not in heaven, but under the whole heaven, shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. The King of Kings will be ruling. He gives the kingdom to his people, but he is the head of that kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him in the millennium. So I had to interject this couple of verses here in Ephesians. I mean, where's the church in all of this? I think it's right here in Ephesians 1, beginning in verse 19. What is the exceeding, he wanted the eyes of their understanding to be enlightened, to know what is the exceeding greatness of his power. What did we just read about how great the king is? Our king. He will overcome. What did he say there in Daniel 7? And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. That's basically the story of the Bible. It's about the kingdom. And the king got killed by the Jews, rejected, but he went to heaven, sat down on the right hand, waiting for his enemies to be made his footstool. But he has the power. He just hasn't exercised it and overcome the devil's man who is to come. But there's going to be a showdown. But look at this. And what is the exceeding greatness? Exceeding. You know what that means. Like it's greater than all others. Exceeds all the greatness of the other kings. And what is the exceeding greatness of his power to usward who believe, according to the working of his mighty power? What is that mighty power? Resurrection power. Because it says, which he wrought in Christ when he raised him from the dead and set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places. Right hand. That's a buzzword right there. The right hand. That's a king ruling in authority. Far above all principality and power and might and dominion and every name that is named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come, the millennium. And hath put all things under his feet. And watch this. Can you picture Christ over all things? Everything is under his feet, though we don't see it yet, but that is his position. And gave him in that position to be the head over all things to the church. The bride rules with the king. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. That's coming. He's on the right hand, but his enemies are not his footstool yet. But he's going to descend from heaven, and a sword's going to come out of his mouth and strike through kings. He's King of kings. He's the Most High. They might think they're pretty high. They magnify themselves. But he's the Most High, and he'll strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. That day is coming soon. Okay. Well, before I keep going, I don't know if you got the picture. Can you picture Christ coming from heaven? Sword comes out of his mouth. Destroys the Antichrist and all these heads of these other countries. And the kingdom is given to the Jewish people, and Christ sets up his throne and his kingdom on the earth. Worldwide dominion. All the dominions serve him. He's king over these subjects. Where's the church? Well, they're riding with him. I mean, if the man of the home is ruling over his home, is the wife part of that? No, she is co-ruler, right? That's the church. We're reigning with him. We're not the subjects down there, the citizens, are we? No, we're the bride in the city ruling with the king. Okay, I have to interject that a little bit. So Daniel 2, he has this image, description of this image, another image, another vision of world history from Nebuchadnezzar to the end. Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Gold, silver, brass, iron, and clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands. I like that. A stone cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, they think, and the United States? I don't think so, but I just wanted to give you an image there. But I don't think that's divided by I don't think the toes are the United States and Great Britain. But notice it says, a stone that was cut out without hands. I looked up the phrase without hands. You know how the Bible tends to interpret itself? Mark 14:58, we heard him say, I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, that Herod built, and within 3 days I will build another made without hands. What was that referring to? His body. The power, the exceeding greatness of his power to us who believe according to his work, the working of his mighty power which he raised when he raised him from the dead. That's his resurrected body made without hands. In whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, in putting off the body of the sins of the flesh without hands. So our glorified bodies, Christ's glorified body, is made without hands. So I believe that the stone cut without hands is Christ in his glorified state. See, he's right now glorified, sitting on the right hand. And we are raised up together with him, and we are ruling and reigning, or will be ruling and reigning with him, with our glorified bodies made without hands. He's the stone cut without hand. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, and house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. You see, Christ is going to rule over in the millennium, and we're going to rule with him in a glorified state. He's the stone that was rejected. Then was the iron and the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Good description. All these kingdoms, all the way, that beast, all the way from Daniel all the way to the end, or from Nebuchadnezzar all the way to the end, which the Antichrist was the little horn that came up out of that beast. He magnifies himself. The final effort of the devil to get all the kingdoms under his power to withstand the Prince of Princes. Then this stone made without hands, or cut without hands, comes rolling down this mountain, smashes all these kingdoms and takes its place. Became a great mountain, filled the whole earth. That's the millennial kingdom. Psalms 118, 22 to 24 has reference to the stone. The stone which the builders refused has become the headstone of the corner. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I had to include that verse there. See where that verse fits into context of the kingdoms being overcome by the king. That day is going to be the greatest day in the history of the world on this planet. Ephesians 2:20 says, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to put that verse in this context, but I do like the idea that the same stone that will one day smash the kingdoms, we're built on that stone. 1 Peter 2:6, wherefore also it is contained in the Scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be disallowed. They crucified that body, that temple that was built with, well, it wasn't built with normal hands, right? Supernatural union with God and Mary. The stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner. Revelation 4:3, and he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. Stone cut without hands. And there was a rainbow round about the throne in sight like an emerald. And then Revelation 21:10, the city, Jerusalem, is depicted as a stone. He carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, that's the bride of Christ, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone, most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Can you get a picture of this stone that comes out of the mountain, smashes these kingdoms? It's a shining, bright, glorified, it's the Lord Jesus Christ. And his saints following him in their glorified body, shining like a stone. We are lively stones, the Bible says. Lively stones. Lively. You look up the word lively, Jesus says something about him being raised from the dead, I think. All right, so thou sawest till that his stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Isn't it interesting that image there goes all the way from the feet up to all the way back to the gold head, which goes way back to Babylon. The devil's kingdom and the final kingdom is a composite of all those, that historical kingdom. Then was the iron and clay and all that. We read that. The stone smote the image. This is the dream. And we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Would you like to know an interpretation of that gold, silver, brass, iron, and clay? Thou, O king, talking to Nebuchadnezzar, art a king of kings. So he's the golden head. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. The head of gold, as Assyrio-Babylonish monarchy, the lion. Remember we talked about the lion already? 4 beasts that rose up out of the sea, Daniel 7. That corresponds with the head of this image, the lion. Nebuchadnezzar was the lion, and he's the head of the gold on this image. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, Daniel is saying to Nebuchadnezzar, wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, see, he's king of the beasts, he's the lion. The beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven, this lion had wings. The beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven had he given into thine hand, much like Adam and Eve. So this Nebuchadnezzar appears like he was ruling over the kingdom of heaven. Hath he given into thine hand, hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. Very clear. He's the head of this composite image. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, so silver is inferior to gold, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. That corresponds with the four beasts, or the three, and then the last one is the exceeding dreadful one. It's the legs of iron. People think it's the Roman Empire. Some do, not all. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. Did I skip a verse? No. So he talks about, after Nebuchadnezzar, another kingdom inferior to thee, and another, the third. So you have the lion, the bear, and the leopard, and then the fourth, that's diverse from all the others. The fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. Remember that fourth beast had iron teeth? For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. That's the fourth beast. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest that the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. That last kingdom that has 10 kings, and then another rises and then overcomes 3, that kingdom has weakness in it because of the clay. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. Kind of strange concept going on there. They shall mingle themselves, I don't know who the they are. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. You tell me what that means. And in the days of these kings, more than one. Okay? See, there's 10, and then the little one, and he overcomes 3, but there's still 7, plus the Antichrist. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. There's the good stuff again. Which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Now, did you notice that he just went from Daniel all the way to the end? And never mentions like a church age somewhere hidden in there. He just jumps right to the end. Revelations. Daniel did not see a church age. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, going from bottom up, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain. So somebody put this together. They think that the legs is the great Roman Empire, and they think that the dragon is the beast of that empire. Well, I don't see it anywhere in the Bible. And the feet and toes, they put that together. I don't know what about all that. The kingdoms of the 10 toes. I think that's speculation. Okay. Oh, by the way, did you see I put those beasts here in line with the head of gold, the lion with wings, breasts and arms of silver with the bear, the Medo-Persian Empire, and then the leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads. Corresponds with this part of the image. 2 visions talking about the same time. The first was like a lion. The second like to a bear, devoured much flesh. The third, leopard, 4 wings, Daniel 7:6. 7:7, the fourth beast doesn't say what the beast was. It just describes him as iron teeth and how he was strong exceeding, crushed everybody before it, had 10 horns. And when it talks about the fourth kingdom in chapter 2, the image doesn't say what animal it was like. I think John actually saw the actual animal. John sees Daniel's fourth beast, what it looked like. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns. There's the 10 horns again. And that's the fourth and final beast. You follow that? 10 horns. That's the fourth beast of Daniel. And upon his head 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. Remember, Daniel says, and out of that 10 horns, although the 11th comes up and overcomes 3 of them. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Now, did you just notice something there? This fourth beast is not a lion or a bear or a leopard by itself. It's a composite of all 3. That's the fourth beast. So this is not a dragon, which people think is the beast of the Roman Empire. The dragon gave power to this beast. Right there it says, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. The devil is depicted as the dragon. He gives power to this last kingdom, which is a composite of all 3 of the historic kingdoms. Daniel saw the lion from top, from Nebuchadnezzar's time down through history. John saw it from reverse, looking back. So the first thing that he saw is a leopard. That's the last one in Daniel, what Daniel saw of the 3. Remember that? Can you follow that? Daniel saw lion, bear, leopard. John saw leopard, bear, lion, looking backward. Leopard is the Greek Empire, which today loosely corresponds with the Balkans. You know what the Balkans are? Maybe I'm not saying it right. Balkans. That's that area right there. Greece, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Albania, I think is included. See, Jerusalem is over here. Turkey. Alexander the Great overcame that part. Of course, he did a lot more than that. But, okay, the Balkans, Syria, and Turkey. I got this from Joel, somebody, I can't remember his last name. Joel'sTrumpet.com, I think I got a book there. Balkan, he says, loosely modern day refers to this area. Syria, Turkey, and this area is the Balkan area, named after the Balkan Mountains. Okay, you see that? Greece, Alexander the Great, he conquered Greece, and he had all this area. Of course, he had more than that, but I'll show you. And then the bear is modern day Iran. That's Persia. Persia, the Medo-Persian Empire. So what are we saying here? So the leopard, let's see. The leopard basically is this area that John saw rise up out of the sea. It was a leopard. That's this area. Alexander the Great conquered this area. Of course, before Alexander, there was Iraq, Persia. Or not Iran is over here. Before Alexander, Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar's king number 1, right? Gold, head of gold. He ruled this Iraq. And then Persia, that's Iran. Then Alexander the Great comes along later, and he overcomes all this, plus all of this over here, and even more. So can you see that the third empire swallowed up the first 2, but expanded? The first one was just these, maybe like Iraq and Iran, and then if I have my information right, Alexander the Great got the same area but expanded it, and very fast. So leopard, bear, lion, if you have all that in one beast, under one beast, that's what you're seeing in Revelation, which is, this is roughly Alexander the Great's territory that he conquered really like in, 7 years or less. Egypt is part of that. Pakistan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan. Did you know there's a Tajikistan? And this would be Iran, which is Persia, which is what animal? Bear, right? And Iraq is the lion of the head of gold, Babylon. So John saw these three composite beasts. I saw one of the, what did he say? Yeah, lion. Leopard, bear, lion. I believe the leopard, bear, and the lion is this whole, no, not more than that. My next thing. This whole area. I mean, if you look in history, those three, Nebuchadnezzar, and then the Medo-Persian Empire, and then the Alexander the Great, that's that area right there. Those are all Muslim areas, basically. Maybe not, I don't know if Greece is yet. I'm not sure. But I don't see Rome anywhere in there. Fourth beast, I don't think is Rome. I know not most maybe, but a lot of end-time teachers believe that the fourth beast is Rome. I don't think it is. I think it's the Islamic Caliphate. Just look at the map, for one. And the beast is a composite of Babylon and Persia and the Alexander the Great. So the devil basically becomes the head, the devil's man, the Antichrist, becomes one of the rulers, but then he overcomes three of them. He rises up out of that historical kingdom. Goes all the way back to Daniel. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So, notice, I'm not going to keep going. I was going to go through the whole chapter yet, but time is almost up. Maybe I can go 10 minutes. Maybe I can do it. But notice the feet of a bear, the body of a leopard, and the head of a lion. But it has 7 heads, 10 horns. And one of the heads were wounded, and they worshiped the dragon. The dragon, that's the devil, which gave power unto the beast. The Antichrist gets his power from the devil. And they worship the beast. So they worship the dragon and they worship the beast. And the reason that they're just so fallen in with him, because it appears that he died and came back to life. They worship the beast and saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? I guess they like this stout fellow with a fierce countenance. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. We already read that in Daniel. So John is just basically repeating what Daniel said. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. Apparently you can see him or something in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war. It's given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So that map that I just showed you, it's not even big enough there. But that's where he rises from. But he gets power to overcome the whole world, according to this. Over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, shall wear out the saints. We already read that in Daniel 7. Back to Revelation. And all that dwell upon the earth, it's worldwide, shall worship him. Worldwide worship. Notice the people's response to this head, worship. That's just crazy. Whose names are not written in the book of the Lamb of the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. So it comes either to that man or to Christ. It kind of comes down to that ultimatum. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Good place to put that. He that leadeth into captivity shall go. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So if somebody kills you with a sword, he said, he needs to be killed with the sword. And it doesn't look like a lot of court trials. Made out of three, now it's called the fourth, come up out of the sea. And then he sees this other beast coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Guy looks like a Christian, but he's speaking like the devil. That's the false prophet. He has a religious side to him. That's the religious representation of the worldwide false religion. So we have a worldwide false government under the Antichrist, and then you have this false prophet who exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Keeps mentioning that deadly wound. That's such a major inspiration to the whole world, that this false prophet comes to the scene, and he promotes the first beast. See how great this man is? He died, he's going to say, he died and he came back to, mock the resurrection of Christ. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Probably through video. He makes it look like this fire comes down from heaven. Actually probably does it. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth. The Antichrist makes craft to prosper under his policy. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, as worldwide, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Promoting the beast and saying, okay, we should make a statue, an image. Looks just like the man that overcame this wound. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. So this false prophet had power to make it look like this AI creature, no doubt. This metallic beast image has the ability to speak and had life. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast. They're working on that right now. That the image of the beast should both speak. So this is not the beast speaking, this is his image speaking here. And cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. I don't know how that's all going to play out. Maybe it's going to have an image everywhere. Or maybe it's online or something. But somehow they can tell if you don't bow down when you get in front of it. And then they'll kill you. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So this is to enforce the worship. You have to get that mark as a mark that you have sworn allegiance to this beast system, which is worldwide. And if you don't have it, you can't do business. You can't go in the store and buy anything. You have to show the little mark on says right hand or on your forehead. So, yep, you're one. You're one of us. You can buy, you can sell, and that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So this is there's no private rights, no private no rights, no individual fasting. The transgressors aren't quite full yet, even though it appears to me like they are. But I believe the power that keeps the mystery of iniquity from manifesting, I believe that power is resurrection power that's inside of the believer. The power that ultimately overcomes the devil is the resurrected, the stone cut without hands, right? That's the resurrected Christ, and the resurrected saints following him on white horses. Well, you know what? We already have the Christ in us, the hope of glory. And I would submit to you that the power to resist the Antichrist right now It's not to reform. It's not reformation. It's not trying to do better in the old man. It's the power of the world to come will finally crush the whole system. But we already have that power in us, so we have hope. We have hope beyond all this. And we have the power to withstand his deception. Of course, hopefully we won't be here when he finally unleashes the fullness of the deception. But there's already major deception. But the power to overcome that is resurrection, the Holy Spirit, the down payment, the seal of the inheritance. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. Interesting. The beast is a man. That's the Antichrist, the 11th horn, that little horn that overcomes 3 of the 10. And his number is 666. 666, the number of man. Man was created on the 6th day. So this is man manifesting, magnifying himself and saying he's God. Sits in the temple and proclaims himself to be God, indwelt by Satan himself. The 7-headed beast goes back to Egypt, Assyria. I said Egypt and Assyria. What was the third? And then there's Babylon, all those. You count them all up, you come to 7, the final one. But if you count from Nebuchadnezzar, it's 4. So, if I have my numbers right, or my countries, or empires. But he magnifies himself in this last kingdom, but then Christ overcomes him with the 7th, basically you could say. 7 is the number of perfection. You need Christ to overcome this 666. Kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry, I wasn't. Basically, that's Revelation 13. I'm pretty much out of whatever to say now. I've already said everything.